Doing pretty good, man. We're about to talk to some NBA here, man. We're past the halfway mark here in the NBA. We're probably like a couple weeks away from trade deadline, probably like a month away from All Star. Before we get into a couple topics I have, what are just your overall thoughts about this season so far?
One, there's no defense being played at all. Well, okay, you know what? I won't say it's no defense being played. I think it's a combination of the fact of number one, these players are just talented. Number one, like they're so offensively talented. I mean, you can even see it, even at like high school level. Like just look at the moves and the way these guys, like the skills that they possess at 16, 17, 18, they doing James Harden step backs. Like even shout out my homie Joe, he coaches like grade school. He was like, yo, I see like sixth graders shooting step back threes. So it's like just the
Yeah.
skill level in general is just uh at a where the offensive skill level in general is at a totally different point. But also some of these games, there is no one guarding
Ridiculous
anybody.
defense.
There
Yeah.
is no one guarding anybody. So it's to me, it's a combination of both. And I think it's a great season. I think it's a pretty interesting season. I think if you talk about, I think we could possibly be heading back into like the 70s, like how like the 70s, like there was, I think, no repeat champions.
Yeah, real
Um,
parity
yeah, it's
level.
real parity. Like even when you look at the league right now, I think you can make a I don't, for, no, I don't think the Western Conference even has a favorite, honestly. And even in the East, I mean, if you want to say it's the Celtics, you could say that, but you could argue at least two or three other teams. I think if you really want to do that, so I think it'll be a very interesting postseason.
Well, yeah, so that's one of my questions on this. We'll get to that. But first, let's start with the Clippers, man. The team that we both cover. We was both of that game on Tuesday against the Philadelphia 76ers, man. Joel Embiid had a big game, 41 points. Kawhi had a big game also. Paul George came back. And it's funny, we both predicted that both of them, that Paul George at least wouldn't play or against the back-to-back against Utah. He did not play. Kawhi did not play either. But they sit here right now, man. They are 23 and 23. They fell out the top six. The Warriors moved into the top six. They are 2-8 in their last 10, man. They are, in the play-in. This is the thing what I feel about the Clippers, man. You can tell me whether you agree with it or not. But the Clippers, to me, it's just like I gotta see them play more games together. I think that's the number one thing. I think we can sit up here and talk about roster construction. Even me and you, when we watch the games, we talk about all the things that they do wrong. But I think more than anything, we haven't seen this roster together. We haven't, even right now, with them getting Paul George back. Luke Cornett is out. Luke Kennard. I said Luke Cornett. Luke Kennard is out right now. They've been having different lineups to the fact where I feel like Ty Lue be coming to the podium looking like I don't know who the hell playing tomorrow. Like even yesterday he told us, they better be on the plane to my Paul George and Kawhi. He didn't know. I don't know if they're gonna play, but they better be on the plane. I feel like what Shaq said the other day. I need to see these dudes play at least 15 to 20 games together before we can really get like a sense of what they are. This is something where I hate when people say they can turn on in the playoffs. No, they can't. They ain't been in the playoffs together fully healthy since like the bubble. So I don't believe that. And I feel like unless you're a team who has won the championship, I think there's really only one team who is floundering right now that I feel has a switch, and that is the Golden State Warriors, just because Steph, Clay, Draymond have been here so many times. Even the young dudes now have been there. So my question for you is, what do you think is the biggest issue with the Clippers, and how can they, make something out of this season?
Well, yes, obviously they need to play together. I think I saw a stat today that said Kawhi and PG have played 94 games total together.
That makes sense.
And they've been together what,
4 years.
3 years
Yeah.
now, 4 years. So I mean, come on, yo, I mean, obviously I know that, Kawhi's coming out of knee surgery. Also, Kawhi's had his injury history. Regardless, Paul George has had his injury history. Regardless, John Wall has had his injury history. But you can't just keep. I mean, if guys are hurt, guys are hurt. But you can't just keep, playing one guy next day, sitting them down, playing this guy this day, sitting them down. I think for one, everybody's role changes every day.
Yeah.
Like one day you asking Marcus Morris to be mellow if he was rated 81. And then the next day you asking Marcus Morris to be a shooter. And then like the next day Terrence Mann is in the corner. And the next day he's running the offense. And then I think the only person who role stays the same pretty much every night is Zubac. And that's
Yeah.
because, set screens, roll hard, rebound, be a presence down low. He's solid. But everybody else, I think their role changes too much. I think some of that uh can be avoided a little bit. Like even when I look at the Nuggets last year, right? Even though they didn't have, more Murray and Porter, I don't think their guys' roles changed that much.
Nah, they
I
didn't.
think
Yeah,
so some of that may be coaching or whatever, but at the same time, like I said, like these guys have to get on the court and play, but we can't act like they don't have legitimate actual issues even when they do play. For one, I see them too many times. They look old. Now, if you look at the roster, everybody on the roster pretty much been in the league 10 years. They
yeah.
don't really have much young talent. The only young talent, I guess, is
And like T-Man.
T-Man and Luke Kennard and like
Yeah,
Brandon Boston, but he doesn't play. So, when you see them play against younger teams or teams that just have a little bit more athleticism, it can kind of show up. Like even last night, he had nobody who could even stay in front of Maxey. Like they had no
yeah.
human
No,
being on
no.
the court
Maxey was the X factor in that game.
except for like Kawhi. But
Yeah,
Kawhi isn't gonna probably guard Maxey all game. It's probably like a
yeah,
lot to ask for him to do. But like they look old at times. Number one, backup center is also a issue. I know people talk about guard play. I don't think guard play is as much of a issue as people make it out to be. Reason being is because they don't use their guards like guards anyway. They're not gonna let the point guard come up and just navigate the offense anyway because PG and Kawhi both split time doing that. But also one thing I've said for the past 3 years is I think they have too many of the same player. Like in your
yeah.
starting lineup,
I
you
agree.
have Marcus Morris, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George. They play the same position.
Yep.
So yes, one, I think they do need to play. Two, I think they do have actual roster construction issues. And three, they look old at times. So I think all those
Yeah.
combined are kind of what's wrong with them.
I will say I do think it's good that Kawhi has been looking good. Kawhi's been looking like Kawhi lately. It's just really to me they just got to get their time together. And who knows? Maybe I don't know who the hell they trade. We was talking about this yesterday too. I don't know who the hell they would trade, but maybe they make a move with the deadline. I think this deadline in general is gonna be interesting because there's gonna be a couple teams who are in the play-in who got to make some business decisions. Are we gonna go for a play-in or are we gonna go over there and tank for Vic the next 25 games? This is gonna be an interesting little deadline. Next one is actually a question you brought up yesterday that I didn't think about. Who's gonna be the next American-born MVP? We were looking at talking about Jokic. His stat line last night, well Tuesday, was crazy. He is looking to be the first person, probably will be the first person if the Nuggets keep on the way they're keeping on right now, to win 3 MVPs in a row since Larry Bird did in the 80s. Before that, it was Giannis. Who do you think is going to be the next American-born MVP? I mean, if you look, Luka's probably going to get one. Embiid, if he does, Embiid's not from America. Like, who's a guy that you can think out there who has a legitimate shot to get one?
I mean, I think number one, I brought this topic up. I think like a year ago when I looked at the past 4 MVP, I was like, yo, it ain't been an American since Harden. That was 2018. It's 2022. It's 4 years we have not seen an American win this award. I think it might be a minute. I mean, number one, I think that even if you just look at the way we train basketball here in America, we kind of got some problems.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, we are, the supreme athletes, everything else. But these other guys, I mean, even like I was watching, I went to the Lakers Rockets game. Shane Goon, about the only person on the Rockets who looked like they actually know how to play actual NBA basketball. Legitimate, actually have the fundamentals of basketball completely sound and solid. So, I mean, I think it could be a minute. I mean, look at a guy like Victor. I mean, Wembanyama's coming in. He's a guy who might pick up a couple. But if I had to say the next American-born MVP, maybe Tatum, because number one, you have to think about whose highlights are going to be good enough to even be able to garner that award.
Get the attraction pretty much.
Ja, maybe, but think about Ja got to play enough games. Ja has to play enough games. Maybe Tatum. I want to say Zion, but Zion don't play enough games. Maybe a guy like Donovan Mitchell, but I think Donovan Mitchell would have something taken away from him by his team. I think that even if he averaged 30, Garland probably giving you 24 and 10. Evan Mobley probably first team all defense. Allen first team all defense. So I don't.
We got to shut the lead down if Donovan Mitchell gets MVP. I'm sorry. That's why I draw the damn line.
I mean, but Donovan's having a great, like Donovan.
No, he's having a great. He's having like a career year, low key.
Like he will probably actually get some MVP votes. Like not even joking. He will probably.
It's like when that random dude wins MVP in your 2K franchise. Like
it ain't never that
happening. Well, you're proving my point.
It ain't never that
random. Ain't never that random. Exactly. That to me like, okay, David Stern is rolling over in his grave. We giving the MVP to Donovan Mitchell. But to me, it would have to probably be Tatum for all the reasons that you name. Ja's a good pick, but when you're a point guard, I feel like you got to go up and above and beyond to win that MVP. Like, even look over the last 20 years, we've had, AI when he's like point guard, shooting guard, Steve
D,
Nash,
yeah, D
D
Rose,
Rose. That's it. The only point guards who won the MVP in the last
guards in general outside of Cole,
Kobe, and that's
Harden,
probably it. Harden,
Russ.
Russ. Okay, yeah. So what we doing? If we including
It's
point
about half and
guards,
half. It's about like half and half.
but even Russ not little. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are smaller guys. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like what I feel like Ja have to go above and beyond. But like you all said, Ja got to stay healthy. So to me, my eyes on Jason Tatum, and I feel like Jason Tatum had a early in the season, he looked like he was gonna be the MVP before the Jokic started doing insane shit again. And, even Luka, Luka's hooping, and Luka, they're only a half game out of the top 4 again, man. So that's something where he's not 100% out the race. So I always have to say I look at Tatum too, man. I think that'd probably be the best option to see who's gonna come next, man. But next, let's talk about. We were just talking about just a second ago, like everything, the random shit that's been happening in the league so far. Who do you think is the best basketball team in the league right now? Like, if you just had to pick one out of both, who has shown you the most?
I mean, I guess the Celtics by default. If I had to pick a team right now, I would say the Celtics by default. I don't like the way they play basketball, but if I had to pick a team, I would say the Celtics. I mean, I think Al Horford is 5th in 3-point percentage in the NBA right now,
As well,
which is wild. I mean, they have Robert Williams, they have Horford, Jaylen Brown and Tatum have been on a historic run as a tandem this season. They also added Malcolm Brogdon, who's obviously, been a very, very solid player for the past 6, 7, 8 years. Marcus Smart, reigning defensive player of the year. Like, they have all the components that you would want to see in a championship team. So if I had to just pick one team, I guess by default, I would pick the Celtics. Does that mean that I'm overly confident that they'll be the winner? I'm not necessarily, but if I had to pick one team right now who has shown me the most, I guess I'll pick the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go Denver. It's something about the Celtics I just don't like. I can't put my finger on it. What I don't like about the Celtics, and it's just I think a lot of it is Jason Tatum, and I like Jason Tatum, but it's kind of like me and you both said, like, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from his playoff performance.
I just don't like how he plays basketball.
Yeah, like he plays. He's the epitome of a vibe super. You know what I'm saying? He got cool moves. He do little fadeaways. The shots that will make the NBA Instagram and things like that. But I feel like first of all, I think they're better. The Nuggets are a better coach team. I think Mike Malone's a better coach. Of course, we have a rookie coach, and what's my man's name? It's Joe.
They don't run plays though anyway. It don't matter.
Yeah.
They don't run plays.
So
kick. Swing, hit a 3.
Yeah, their offense looks a little bit more fluid, and they're only like a game worse than the Celtics, so it's not really like it's that big of a difference. And I trust Jokic way more than I trust Jason Tatum right now. And I think the question mark for the Nuggets to win this whole thing really isn't Jokic. I have no questions with Jokic. Can Jamal Murray take that bubble play that he had and do it in front of human beings?
I got some questions for Jokic.
Go ahead.
The question it's my thing with the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets can beat everybody until we get to the Warriors, and then I think it gets interesting because they're gonna make Steph and Clay and Poole are gonna make Jokic come out and guard. And currently, I think if I looked it up yesterday, the Nuggets are 2nd in offensive rating, but they're 17th in defensive rating. If you look historically, in order to win, usually you must be top 10 in both. So, and I've always been somebody who thought that, like, to offset what Jokic isn't defensively, you need somebody who could damn near win defensive player of the year right next to him. But Aaron Gordon has been great. And again, if you go back in history, if you look at last year when they played, granted, Steph was just coming off injury. He was still,
every last one of them games was close.
But yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. Now they cooked them the first 2 games, but those last 3 games without Jamal Murray and without Michael Porter Jr. were very close basketball games. So maybe everything I'm saying just doesn't matter. And when you have somebody who is capable of doing what Jokic is capable, like, bro, the man had, what was it last night? Like 30, 10, and 10, and he missed one shot.
Yeah, and he had majority of it with 28 minutes. Like,
So maybe when you are doing something that elite, all of what I'm saying doesn't matter. But that's would be my only question about the Nuggets is can they actually defend well enough to be able to win at the highest levels?
yeah, I agree with that, man. To me, is can they defend enough, and can Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. do the things to help Jokic out? Because yeah, even though you can, you got to bring Jokic out. Draymond can defend him, but I think this entire season in general is just there's so many teams that nobody believes in. There's not a clear cut favorite. I believe. I think it's gonna make for some interesting playoffs because there's gonna be some questions answered. It's to the point where we don't have a clear cut favorite, and I'm still over here banking on the Warriors just because of experience. Even though they have the worst road record in basketball, they have a worse road record than the fucking Houston Rockets. So that's a problem.
What? They do.
Yes, they have the worst road record in basketball. They
The
won like
Warriors, in my personal opinion, the Warriors can't fall to the play-in because they
no, they
can
can't.
lose in the
Because
play-in. They
the
one
Warriors are
million
one of
percent
those
lose in the play-in.
games. We were talking about this just at the game. Me, you, and what's the
Chris.
homeboy, Chris. Yeah, we were talking about this is the game, and we were talking about the Lakers too. With the Lakers, like yes, they can lose a play-in. They're more built for a 7-game series. Even though I don't think they'll win a 7-game series, they're more built for a 7-game series. Same with the Warriors. The Warriors can trick off
They can trigger a play-in
a playoff game.
for sure.
Maybe Jordan Poole goes the 0 for 7 from 3. Draymond gets ejected. Maybe it's not one of Steph's best games. Yes, I'm with you. They have to stay in that top 6 because as bad as their road record is, when the playoff comes, I don't give a damn about what their road record is. But I think a lot of these teams, they're on top of them. This anytime you smell blood in the water with a healthy Warriors team. Not to say that healthy Warriors team, because every time we've seen them lose since really in the after the 3-1 collapse, every time we've seen them lose, it has not been a healthy Golden State Warriors roster. If there's anytime you see blood in the water for a healthy Warriors team, it's right now, and teams need to take advantage of that. And I will get to that. We got 2 more topics on it, but my number one topic is going to kind of relate to this. But my next one is actually a surprising team, is the Sacramento Kings, man. The Sacramento Kings, actually the other day, I was like, oh, the Kings are winning a lot. They end up playing, and I looked at the standings. These motherfuckers number 4 in the West. They 24-18. They're a game behind third. They've won 4 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. 14-9 the crib. I mean, De'Aaron Fox has been incredible. Sabonis, he leads the league in double doubles. He has 33 of them, man. They've been good. Mike Brown needs to get a lot more love for the way he's been coaching. I always feel like Mike Brown is not been judged the best because of LeBron's situation that happened in Cleveland. The man is a good coach. You know what I'm saying? You don't go to the NBA Finals with that shit roster that the Cavaliers had. Yeah. And we all know LeBron was incredible, but you still got to have a good coach.
Sure.
Look how good the Warriors played when you had to take the reins when Steve Kerr's back was hot. So we need to give him a little bit more love. But what do you think about the Kings? Do you think they can stay in the top 6? Do you think they're going to come back to earth a little bit and fall into the play-in?
I, for one, am not – okay. I, for one, picked them to be a play-in team. I didn't pick them to be fucking 24-18. I didn't pick them to be that. But when I looked at the roster – okay, I was one person that when they made the Halliburton Sabonis trade, and everybody like just bashed the Kings. I was like,
I didn't like that.
I was like, what are you talking about? You're talking about a guy who is 16 and at worst 11 every single night. He's gonna get you 5 assists. He is a quality, pretty much he won't make the All-Star team every year, but he's a guy who will always have his name in the hat for being a All-Star. And again, if you're Sacramento, you have to have some semblance of an actual basketball team. Literally since Young Jeezy dropped Thug Motivation 101, they have not had any semblance of an actual basketball team. I thought that trade at least, okay, I see what you're doing. You got De'Aaron Fox at point guard. You got Kevin Huerter out there. You got your 2 wings, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and you got Sabonis. They have an actual basketball team that makes basketball sense. And when even you look at the roster, you can see what they were at least attempting to do. Their offense was always good. I think what you're seeing now is they're playing better defense because Mike Brown, as you say, they had one is a good coach, but he's also a defensive coach. I think the things that you saw in past years was like, they would always score like 120, but they defensive rating was like
135.
They get up 135, so like it didn't matter. I think they've instilled confidence in De'Aaron Fox with that trade because you can't have 2 guards and all other things, but like no, that's 20 people touching the basketball. Now you got Sabonis, and Sabonis' offensive rating is 134 this season. His personal offensive rating is 134. He's having a incredible year. Fox is playing great. Keegan Murray is really, really good. Harrison Barnes, I mean, I know people have their jokes about Harrison Barnes stemming from 2016, but Harrison Barnes is a steady NBA basketball player. Like pretty much every night you're gonna get probably no less than 15 points. He'll go out there and get you 7 boards.
Solid production.
Solid production. He not gonna go out there and wow you, but he'll get you solid production. I think they can stay in the top 6 barring injury because of the fact of, I mean, just look at the West. Like nobody is that far away from anybody else. And also, how many bigs this season have been better than Sabonis?
Not a lot of them.
Not a lot. So yes, I think they can stick in the top 6, and I just think it is good for the Kings in general. Like,
it's a great story. They have a great fan base. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when people got scared to go to the old arena, Arco Arena
with the cowbell.
Arco Arena was so goddamn loud, even through the TV. You know, Arco Arena held my favorite NBA game ever, which is Game 7 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals, went to overtime between the Lakers and the Kings. That is my favorite basketball game ever. That I remember how good that fan base. They have the longest playoff drought in sports, in any of the major sports. They have not been to the playoffs since the 05-06 season. I think it was 18, 17 going on 18.
Last time young DZ dropped Thug Motivation. They have not had any semblance of a roster that made sense.
In all 3 leagues, NBA, NFL, Major League, actually 4, NHL too. So they have the biggest drought in American sports. So this would be a good story if they can get in there, man. So shout out to everything they're doing over there.
And I'll take it further, real quick. I think they can win around.
Let me see. Who? I mean,
the Clippers. Hold on, wait. No, who is
right now? They would have to play Dallas. If the standings stay the way right now, they're losing. Luka gonna break everybody's heart.
Ain't
no way. Luka, ain't no way. Luka ain't lose to Darren Fox.
Yeah, you're right. Never mind. That ain't gonna happen.
But it is a good story, man. Last thing I want to go over with you, man, is also what we were just talking about a minute ago with the Warriors. Well, everybody smelling blood in the water. The Memphis Grizzlies, man. I really enjoy watching the Grizzlies. At the time of recording, because they're currently playing a game right now against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are currently tied. It's currently tied 93-93. So who knows how that game ends by the time you're watching this. But at this moment of recording, they're 30-13. They have won 10 in a row at the crib. Ja Morant has been incredible. My thing about the Grizzlies, I love everything about the team basketball-wise. I think they're the epitome of a Generation Z team, which annoys the hell out of me. They're real dancing ass. Let's do all these, it's fun for the younger generation, but it annoys old people like me. But I think on the court, they are a very entertaining team. And I think they need to go out there and get I think at the deadline, they need to make a trade for a legitimate number 2. This is no disrespect to Desmond Bayne. I think he's a good player. I think if he's your number 3 on a championship team, maybe number 4, you're fine. You're good. You're not beating the big dogs in the West with Desmond Bayne as your number 2. You're not beating Denver. You're not beating a healthy New Orleans Pelicans team. I'm not 100% sure they can beat Dallas just because Luka is just that overwhelming by himself. And we all know they can't beat Golden State. Golden State beat them last year. They beat them on Christmas with nobody. So we all know that it's just a bad matchup against the Warriors. I think they need to go out there and get their number 2. Now, I feel like we've put this dude's name in trade mocks for fucking years now. He just don't want to leave. I think they get a guy like Bradley Beal, man. I think Bradley Beal, you get you a guy who can score, who can go out there and make Ja's life easier and just make this team deeper. You might have to get. I don't know what you have to give up to get him, but I think this is the time right now because eventually you're gonna have to pay Ja. And I know we love what the Grizzlies are, but they still are in Memphis, Tennessee. This is a small market team. When they have to pay Ja, if they pay Ja, they're basically gonna be rebuilding again because that contract is gonna be so big. What do you think about the Grizzlies? Do you think I'm off about them making a trade? What do you think about their chances to actually win a championship this year?
I'm not going to say that they need to make a trade yet. I do agree that they probably need a second scorer, but I think Desmond Bayne is as close as you can get to a second scorer who can't dribble. Well, no. I don't want to say can't dribble. Who isn't the best at manufacturing
That's
his
not
own
part of
shot,
his game.
then you can possibly get. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, like, you know how the Warriors won with Klay Thompson at first when Klay Thompson couldn't really manufacture his own shot. I think Desmond Bayne is as close as you can get to that. And the good thing about Desmond Bayne is he can finish and he's good with straight line drives to the rim. And he's also strong and probably stronger than most guards. So I don't want to say that they need to make a trade yet, because I do think that there is something to be said for teams that like each other.
Yeah.
Like
I
the
agree with that.
Grizzlies seem like, for instance, like when I watch the Clippers play, which is why I think Ty said it's good that they're gonna be on the road. The Clippers play like a team who only hangs out with each other at the gym. The Grizzlies seem like they do everything together. So
But also in the Clippers thing, not to cut you off, I think a big part of that is because look at the leaders. Kawhi don't lead a house.
Fair.
And Paul George is a family man. I don't think Paul George, you would know better. Do you ever see Paul George when you out?
I've seen him a couple times, but that was like years ago.
Yeah, but it's like not as frequent. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that probably has a lot to do with it. So
you're not wrong. You're not at all wrong. I'm just saying. That the Grizzlies, I think, and also number one as it stands since Jaren Jackson came back, they are first in defense. Do I actually think they're the best defensive team in the league? I do not. But the stats say they're first in defense. Who am I to argue with them? They're also a top 10 offensive team. And again, this year in the West, anything can happen. Do I think that they're really a second round team? I just don't believe in them offensively enough, and I don't believe in them defensively enough. And also, Dylan Brooks fouls too much, and Jaren Jackson fouls too much. If Jaren Jackson wasn't so much of a foul machine, I think
he get double-digit rebounds.
That too, he doesn't. But you also have Steven Adams, who I think is leading the league in offensive rebounding. I think he's top 10 in defensive rebounding as well. So you can kind of like offset some of that. But I wouldn't say they need to make a trade yet. I want to see that if I'm the organization, I want to see them get their heart broken first, or see how far we can go before I want to mess with this group. Because again, I do think something is to be said for teams that genuinely like each other.
Well, they got their heart broken last year against the Warriors.
Yeah, not really.
And they damn near should have lost to Minnesota. Minnesota wasn't the dumbest team ever.
Yes, but the reason why I can say no is because Ja did get hurt in that series.
But the game he got hurt, it was down 40 points.
I'm just saying they played games after that. Ja did get hurt in that series, and so you know what, and also that was their first year of like, you know, really coming of age and realizing like now, okay, people know about Memphis. They know when we come to Memphis, we have to play. They're still winning games. I want to see them actually get a year as a fully realized team before I start plucking pieces away for a trade for a guy who might not fit. So
that's a fair take. I just feel like in the NBA with you know, the things that are coming up in the West with Denver, you know, and I do feel like eventually New Orleans will get Zion. Well, Zion is, I'm not really worried about Zion. I'm worried a little bit about Brandon Ingram. He's been out a long ass time. But if they can get healthy, I think the Pelicans will watch them, to be completely honest. If they're full strength, I don't think they stand a chance against the Pelicans. So I feel like they just need that second guy to be able to balance shit out, because I'm not expecting Ja can go 1-on-5. That's just Ja's game. I don't think what's my man? Desmond Bayne is that type of guy. And so I feel like in sports, if you have an opportunity to go for it, I think they should go for it, man. But I'm really interested to see how this trade deadline is gonna go for the entire league, man. But
can I ask you one question? Can I ask you a team that you think should be selling?
Should be selling?
Yes, at the
Phoenix Suns.
You think Phoenix the Suns should sell?
100% the Phoenix Suns need to sell.
I disagree with you on that.
They're a bad team. They're an old team. Chris Paul, well, they're old because of Chris Paul. They're not really an old team. DeAndre Ayton hates it there.
He does.
He hates it. You talk about a team that don't like playing with each other. Them motherfuckers don't like playing with each other. I feel like all the joy they had, Luka took their soul, bro. Like he didn't just beat them. He took their soul. All that fun that they used to have last year, dancing the NBA YoungBoy. We don't see none of that shit no more. You know, and I think they just need to, I don't know who they should trade, but they need to tear it down. And honestly, if the Bulls had their own fucking draft pick, I'd say they tear it down. But they're just not going to do that.
I disagree with you on the Suns for two reasons. One, they are in the middle of a sale. Like, they are in the middle of a sale, and I think you want to continue to keep revenue. Also, you were rebuilding for 15 years. You don't want to get a scenario in which you, like, trade guys away. And again, also, I think the Suns aren't as bad as their record. They've been hurt. I think they've
been hurt, but they ain't been good when they were healthy that much.
I think when they were healthy, they were still like a
Do you have confidence in them beating any top 4 team right now?
Maybe.
Not including Sacramento.
No, I mean I think they could maybe beat Memphis. Maybe like I think any of those top 4 teams they could beat outside of the Nuggets if legitimately healthy. I think their championship window was sealed shut when Luka did all that things to him.
And that's my point, because if you're Chris Paul, put yourself in Chris Paul's position. Yeah, what's my man? Devin Booker, he's young. You know, the rest of those guys are young. Besides that, even if they don't break it down, they got to get DeAndre Ayton the fuck up out of there. One, they don't use him right. Two, he hates it there. And I feel like you can get something of value for him. And if you're Chris Paul, like, look, man, I want to get a championship.
Chris Paul is like, I'm getting $48 million.
No, I mean, of course, yes.
That's what Chris Paul is like.
But Chris Paul, as much as I can't stand him as a player, I don't know the dude personally, but as much as I can't stand him as a player, you know he wants to win. I think it's more than a money thing. I don't feel like it's a situation with him. He's like, well, I'm getting paid. I really think that Chris Paul wants to win. I think it eats him inside that he doesn't win. He's the only. Well, Melo, I think Melo I don't think Melo cares about getting a championship. Like, you know, some people who say they don't care, I don't believe Melo cares. Like, if Melo had one, it'd be cool. But Melo just enjoying his time being Melo. But, you know, it eats Chris Paul up in his soul that he can't sit at the same table as LeBron and Dwayne Wade championship-wise. Now, if you want to talk all-time player, of course, he's one of the all-time players of all time. But when you sit there with your homies, they can put their rings on the table. Brown, like, I got 4, or I got 3.5. You know, Wade is like, I got 3. And, you know, he can't sit up here and do that, man. So that to me, if I'm like I said, they are going through a sale right now, so that does change things. As you can see, even in the NFL, the same thing with the Denver Broncos, where homeboy got fired Nathaniel Hackett because he wasn't hired by the new ownership. You know, the Russell Wilson trade didn't even happen with the current new ownership. They just can't get rid of him now because the past ownership gave him that big ass contract. So I do agree with you on that. But if I was them, I would sell. I would sell of them if I was them. And I will say this one last thing. I won't say the Bulls had to sell, but the Bulls didn't make a decision on Lonzo Ball. That's what I have to say. They didn't make a decision. Like, they got to do something.
I will say one team that everybody should keep an eye out on is the Toronto Raptors. I think the Raptors,
as far as selling,
yes, I think they're in a very interesting situation.
They are.
It's like they're not terrible, but they're not good either.
Yeah,
they're the
up north Bulls.
Yeah, and they have some pieces that other teams would really want and could really put some other teams over the edge. And they could also make a play-in game, and maybe they could make the playoffs. But I think that's also one team that people should keep an eye on, and I'm sure the people in the league are monitoring. So
yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting trade deadline, man. A lot of business decisions are gonna get made during this trade deadline. I think it's gonna be at least 1 or 2 trades that come out the blue that nobody saw coming. So I'm really excited about that, man. But